room ever. Thank you. I mean, I literally do travel with you guys in life, but it would be great if you guys come everywhere with me. What a great drum set. Is this new? I love it. So, hi guys! How's it going? Seattle or Bellevue, wherever we are. Who's first time here? Okay, I love this. I was saying this in my meet and greet earlier, like it's so cool that we've been doing this for so long and yet we keep getting new people. So it's exciting because we have the same stories. Yes. Was that old people welcoming new people? Yes. Nice. Yes. Well, you know, what's the saying? Make new friends, but keep the old. Some are silver and the others gold. Okay, well, I can start with like a little introduction about myself, since some of you guys are new, and then we can open it up to questions. Sound good? Awesome. So I started my career as a kid. Really, I did a lot of children's theater. I didn't actually know that I wanted to be an actor. I just kind of did that kind of stuff. And then I was scouted in a mall when I was about 14 by a model scout, which was a little weird and creepy, if that's ever. You're like, hi, would you like to come to my office and talk to me? I was like, can you talk to my mom? But then I signed this contract and I was overseas working as a model for my high school years, and I homeschooled through high school, which was in the 90s, and we did not have laptops or the internet. So I took my books with me because when everyone was in COVID school, Zoom school, I was like, this is easy, you guys. I had to like FedEx my reports back overseas to get them marked. But yeah, so I did that for several years, and then I moved to Dallas when I was like 18, and I was working there as a model, and I was going to college. And my agency sat me down and they're like, you know, we're seeing more and more actors on the covers of magazines and less models. Would you be interested in acting? And I was like, oh, well, I used to, do some theater. And so I just started booking movies, and Austin was like a really cool hotspot for independent film. And Dallas has a really cool independent film market. And so I just started working, and I really liked it. I just liked the creative aspect of it. I liked that I could eat. Big thing if you were a model in the 90s, they didn't like us to eat very much. It has changed, I will say. I'm grateful for that. My daughter actually just signed a really big modeling contract, and that's not come up. And in fact, in her contract, there's like a whole 12 pages about like eating disorders and proper nutrition and exercise. And I was really proud to see that because it was really cool. In fact, she was scouted. I didn't get her into this at all. It just kind of happened. We did like a fun creative photo shoot, and an agency scouted her. And everyone we met, they're like, oh, just wait till she's 18. Let her have a life, let her go to school. And so that was also another really big positive. So she just turned 18 and she's moving to New York next week. But, so it happened fast. But I was really, really proud. I'm proud of the industry. I'm proud of the world. So it was refreshing. So that was a nice part of being an actor. Also, there's like craft service everywhere you go on set. There's food all the time, whenever you want it, and all the kinds of food you want, which was really nice. And then I feel like I built my career at the same time as I built my family. I have 4 kids. It just kept happening to me. Figured it out. But yeah, so I feel like I don't really know my career without my family, and my family's always been like a really beautiful distraction from my career, and my career's also been like a really nice sort of escape from my family, and they just kind of blend and balance really nicely. So I've been really grateful for that in my life, to live as an artist for nearly 30 years and raise a family on it. I feel really grateful because it's not an easy feat. So that's me. I got on this little show called Supernatural, and it's been a tremendous blessing. And I've told this story before, so forgive me if you've heard it, but a lot of times when we read for a show, you audition for it several times before you actually get on the show. And so I hadn't read for it. So when it came through my inbox, I was like, oh, that show's still on? It was season 8. And shows don't last. Like, they didn't then, and they don't now. And so that was kind of an anomaly. And so then I went in, and if you guys remember the first episode that Abaddon comes on, she gets like shot in the face and stabbed in the back, and her head gets cut off. That was my audition scene. Yeah, and I was literally at the park with my kids, and I was reading, and I was like, this shit is ridiculous. And I had not prepared it. So when you walk into an audition room, now we do it all in our living room, which is another bizarre situation that happened with COVID. And to be honest, for me, I don't like it. I like to be in the room. I like to see the producers. I like that feedback. And I don't mean the feedback of like, oh, you're really great. I mean like, I feel your energy and you feel my energy. And we don't have that anymore. We're submitting tapes and they're sort of like going into the ether. You have no idea if anyone's watching them until you get the job. And more often than not, you don't get the job. The ratio is like 60 auditions to 1 job. Yeah, it's really hard on your self-esteem. And then when you don't get the feedback, at least when you go in the room and you meet the producers and like they smile or they laugh or, you know, they're like, wow, that was great, thank you. You're like, okay, I did my job. I didn't get paid for it, but I did my job. And then, you know, you go on with your day and it was sort of a purposeful part of your day. Now you just kind of send your tape off and you get the job or you don't, which is mostly you don't. Which is great. Yeah, so I did not really prepare. Like I knew the scene and I knew what I was gonna say. And so you sit in this room and it's not a set, and you're not in hair and makeup. And you sit across from like the producers and you're reading with the casting director or with a reader, an audition reader. And so I just kind of became. And I always give Abaddon the credit for Abaddon. Like I don't feel like I could have prepared her. I just feel like I allowed her to become. And I was the first person in that session and I did the audition. And the casting director was like, wow, that's a really hard audition. I was like, yeah, I know. He's like, well, great job. And I just felt so good about it, and then I got the job. So it was right. It worked out really well for me. And then I flew to Vancouver. I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and I flew to Vancouver, and I walked into possibly one of the most gracious, kind, loving, welcoming work environments, which is also very rare. So it's a blessing, and you guys are, you know, you guys get to see that as we have been on tour all these years. It's the same thing. You walk into this big, beautiful family, and it can be really intimidating to walk into a show 8 seasons in. It's very established, and it could be very cliquey, and it was not at all. It was so loving and welcoming. I think my first day on set, I was just getting ready, and Jensen and Jared came in the makeup trailer, and I forget how we got on the topic, but Texas, because I lived in Texas. Yeah, and we just started talking about Texas, and then I don't know, it was just like easy and fun, and like there was no egos, and they're great to work with, and that was just my experience ongoing until today. So, including today. Letting that happen. Yeah, so that's my story. I've been on a bunch of other shows. Stargate, Supernatural, Smallville, just most recently on The 100 and Riverdale. And Osric and I actually just did a movie called Jonah. It's available on Netflix, or not Netflix, Amazon, Apple, and my son is in it. He plays Jonah. Yeah, it was really cute. He doesn't want to do any more movies. Osric calls me one day and he's like, hey, I have this movie I'm producing. There's a role for you. Do you think Lincoln would want to be in it? I was like, my son? He's like, yeah, we need a kid, you know. You're an actor. Is he an actor? I'm like, no. He was like 9 or 10 or something. I was like, well, I'll ask him. And I read the script first, of course, to make sure that it was okay. And I was like, oh, it's good. And actually, he's only in about 9 scenes, even though he's the title character. So it was really well written. And I asked Lincoln, I was like, do you want to do this movie? And he was like, are they going to pay me? I was like, yeah, and he's like, okay, let's do it. And then it was really sweet, and then my daughter came, and she was sort of his on-set handler, and helped him with his scenes, and he had to do like set school. It was a whole different like momager thing. I've never done that before, so that was a fun experience. I also did a movie with my daughter called Letters at Christmas, and I found myself in the scenes with her. I didn't play her mom in the movie, but I was in scenes with her, and I felt myself like like saying her lines in my head, but I'm on camera, and I'm like, what am I doing? So it's very difficult to be a mom as an actor that's on set. I had never experienced that before. Yeah, so Osric and I did Jonah. And now I have a new movie coming out called Waltzing with Brando, which I'm very excited to see. I just did ADR for that. We shot last year in Tahiti, right before the strike. It's a great place to go to work. Do you want to go to Tahiti for a month? I'm like, yes. Let's. So beautiful. And it was a period piece. Obviously, if you know about Marlon Brando, he was really in love with Tahiti. And so this is kind of a love letter to Tahiti, to Marlon Brando. And it's about how he created his own island, Teteroa. And he has his own luxury hotel on the island called the Brando. We did not film there. It's very expensive. It's very exclusive. I think Leonardo DiCaprio owns a portion of it. But we shot on Moorea, which is a smaller island, and Billy Zane plays Marlon Brando, and yeah, yes, he was born to play this character. It was amazing. It was amazing to watch him, just like you're talking to Billy, and whoa, there's Marlon. Like he just became. So that was really cool. And then John Heater, I play John Heater's husband or wife. He plays my husband in the movie from Napoleon Dynamite, and Richard Dreyfuss is in it as well. So I can't wait for it to come out. I don't know when, but I will announce it on my socials. Yeah. Very excited. So should we start with questions? Please ask questions, or it's going to be very boring. I've told you my whole life story. Okay. Oh, yeah. Are you coming to ask a question? Yeah. No pressure. Is everybody coming to karaoke tonight? I'll be there. I'm not singing. But I can't wait to see all the feathers. I'm very excited. DJ's very excited about his costume. So I'm excited. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
You're my first one that I'm talking to today, so I'm a little nervous.
Oh.
But I was gonna say I just did an audition for like not the actors. What is it? I'm supposed to be in a like process of becoming a new actor, so I wanted to know what your advice would be.
Yeah, I love that question. I get it a lot. You know, the industry has changed. It's always evolving, like every industry, like life. I always say sort of the same piece of advice, and I feel like you can always build on this, but I always say create. Be a part of your creative process. I think I always reference Felicia Day. She's such a great example of somebody who's taken their career. I remember meeting her at Dragon Con like 15 years ago, and I was signing there. And my husband at the time came over to me and he was like, have you met this chick? She makes her own shows and she's selling them at her booth. And I was like, what? And she was one of the first people to have a Google channel. So I always say, like, create, be a part of the creative process. We have no control. Like I said, last year I think I had 72 auditions. I booked one job. Thankfully, you know, it pays my bills, but it's very difficult to get a job. And so the best part is you can create your own experience. I say start local, get involved with your local community. Wherever you live, there's going to be a theater community, there's going to be other creatives, and it's going to help you really integrate your community and grow and build with each other, because somebody's doing something else and somebody's talented at something else, and you might discover in the process you're a really great writer, and that's not what you thought you were going to be doing, but necessity made it so. So I always just say get involved locally, I think acting classes, I'm honestly on the fence about acting classes. I think a good acting class is fantastic. It's a great way to express yourself. I think a newer, more insecure actor, there might be bad habits built is maybe the way I want to say it. Like I feel like trust your instincts, go with your gut, break down material that works for you, and that's only through your own processes of doing so. Like doing a theater play, or like working with other actors, or like writing your own stuff. But yeah, get involved locally is what I say first and foremost.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Hi.
Hi, hello. I was here a number of years ago, and Mark Shepard had mentioned that you guys had known each other well before Supernatural and worked on projects. I was curious
Mark talked about me?
Yeah. Very favorably, by the way.
Oh.
But he never mentioned what it was that you guys had worked on exactly. How you met.
So when I met, the first time I met Mark Shepard was at a convention in Toronto, like, one Toronto. It was at an event, I forget what it was, but it was a convention. It was one of my first conventions, and there was like a VIP lounge in the hotel, and that's where like our breakfasts and stuff were. And I went in there to get my like boiled eggs and my oatmeal, and I hear, Alaina Huffman. And I was like, hello? He was like, Mark Shepard, I wanted to hire you for a movie I'm doing. And I was like, who are you? And then we just kind of bonded and we became friends. And then I used to call him like my undercover boyfriend because I'd see him all over the world. We basically, the first time I worked with him was on Supernatural, but we had met each other all over the world at conventions, and I was like, oh, there's my friend Mark again, hey buddy. And then we started working together on Supernatural. I didn't even know he was on the show, and I looked on the call sheet, and I was like, Mark Shepard, like the same Mark Shepard. And then I saw him at the hotel, and I was like, oh hey, and we got to work together, and then he won. I'll give him that. I've made peace with it. But yeah, I love Mark Shepard for sure. Hi.
Hello. So I didn't know we were going to get to ask other people questions, so my daughter sent me with a list. I'll ask you one. What is your favorite dinner?
Like just in life?
Your favorite, like, home-cooked dinner. My daughter wants to know a celebrity's favorite dinner.
That's so cute. I am like a very simple eater. Like I like flavor. I'm not one of those people who just like bread and cheese, but I like that too. But I'm kind of like a routine eater. I guess like I feel like I just had a burger, so I feel like the perfect meal is a burger. You just like it's right there. You don't have to add nothing to it. Like I got my burger with a side salad. I didn't eat the salad. It was on the burger. Why mess with it? And I like mustard. Yeah.
Thank you. That's actually her favorite too.
Oh, perfect! Yay. Hello.
Hello. What's your favorite scene that you have done in Supernatural?
My favorite scene or my favorite thing?
Favorite scene.
The one where I got to kick the shit out of Mark Shepard. I've told this story before, so again, forgive me, but it was actually quite funny. Mark is a giver. Like he was so good. So he's tied up to this chair. Do you guys remember this scene? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like Sam's like turning human in the corner, something's happening to Sam. I guess he was human. I don't know, he was turning demon or something. Anyway, it was a blood transfusion, it was weird. It was very supernatural. And so I come in there and I have to like, you know, punch him or kick him or something, and he's like, it's right, yeah, go ahead, I'll do it, I'll fall. And they're like, you don't have to fall. He's like, no, I'm going to. And so we did that, but then the best part was Brad Greaser, who's one of our camera operators, he had one of those deli counters, you know, it's like take your number, and he walked around to the whole crew and gave them all a number so they could get in line to also have a couple shots of Shepard. Poor memory. It was fun. Every day on set, honestly, is amazing and fun and always a joy. And also, it's really cool to like be a part of a creative community that's giving. I remember, you know, some of it's kind of ridiculous. Like, and you feel a bit ridiculous. Like, just imagine how ridiculous the situation is, and then you imagine you doing it. It's weird. So I remember like one, I like was lit on fire one of the times they killed me, and and Phil Segrisha was directing that one, and I was like, I don't know how you flail on fire. Like, I've never been on fire before. And he was like, just go for it, just do it, yes! And he was like so in it, and then you do it in one take. And I've literally taken that lesson with me in life. Like, whatever you're doing, just go for it, and it's done. You know? So yeah, I love Supernatural, it's a great show. Thank you. Sorry, I'm chewing my gum, it was a great idea at the time. Hi.
I was wondering, since the guys are known to pranking people on set, did they prank you and what did they do?
I did not get pranked by the guys. Everyone asked me that question. I think they were scared. I'm sticking with that one. I watched a lot of pranks. I partook in a really great prank on Mark Shepard. Did you guys see that one where we plastered his trailer with Misha's picture? Very prideful moment. But he loved it. It was so great. He was, we have it all on tape. I'm sure you guys have all seen it, but it's great. The only thing that happened to me, and the boys didn't do it, it was someone else. I remember I was like looking at something, it was like a skeleton head or something, and they got me on camera and they like moved it, and it scared me. I was like, and that was like the only thing. I didn't get a real prank.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. You're good at those though.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
My name is Andrina and I'm a filmmaker. So I would like to know, what is a big problem that you've had on set and how did you overcome it?
You know, that's the thing about our business is, and you know, film and television are very different. Are you making films or TV or?
I'm doing an internship, so I'm working on a few documentaries.
Oh, cool, good for you. I feel like that's a whole talk on its own. You know, I'm pursuing a career as a director. It's literally been the hardest thing I've ever done. I failed at it miserably, but I'm not stopping. Yeah, it'll happen. But you know, the thing is when you're, and I remember I shadowed on Supernatural, and one of the questions that Phil asked me when I was Phil Segrisha that I was shadowing, he was like, what happens in this situation when, you know, so-and-so, like you're doing a big stunt and something doesn't show up? Well, you've got 250 people on the payroll sitting around for 3 hours. What are you gonna do as a director of this ship to make the network happy that they're spending all this money when they're not getting anything done? And so I don't think there's one specific problem. I think there's a lot of cultural shifts. We saw that during the Me Too movement, and I think a lot of things were addressed, and there is a lot of sensitivity now, which I'm grateful for, having been in the industry a long time before and after it. I do think that there's a lot of awareness now of sexual harassment and hours. I mean, I work a lot in Vancouver, and we shoot 45 minutes outside of the city, and people are driving home after. In Canada, you can shoot a 12-hour camera day, no, a 14-hour camera day, which means you've got your actors on set sometimes 16 hours. That's not a very long turnaround. And so that's not just your actors, that means your makeup artists and your crew are there before and after them. So you've got all these people driving home with no sleep, and that's a big problem, and that's had to be addressed when there's car accidents, and yeah, there's a lot of problems, but there's a lot of not problems also. And you know, we have unions. We had all our big contract deals. We're in a deal negotiation right now with IATSE, which is our crew union, and there's protections and provisions that are in those union negotiations because as problems come up, we know how to deal with them. So I don't think there's a perfect way. I don't think there's a perfect system, but I think that there's enough awareness where we can correct things as they happen, and that's the goal.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
As an actor, I'm sure you had a
a lot of moments in your life where you're like, man, I'm so glad I did this. This is an awesome career choice. But what about your lowest moment, which really made you question, oh my gosh, is this the right career path for me? And like, I guess I'm asking, what is that moment? I guess what's that defining moment for you that you really questioned, and then how did you push through that to be who you are today?
Oh, thank you. It's a great question. I feel like there's not a moment, that's many moments. But I feel like that's indicative of anybody's life and career, right? Like, I think there's so much of our lives. I mean, I'm 44. I've lived a full life, and there's monotony in it. And I think there's like moments where you're like, what am I doing? Why am I still doing this? I'm still here. For me, it comes down to like, what practices do you have? And how do you get through? Like, sometimes you make enough money, but then you're left with your thoughts and with your feelings about things. I know I've signed up for projects. There's this saying, I forget who said this. I think maybe it was Michael Caine. He was like, you take a role for a few reasons. One, you really like the character. Two, you need to pay your bills. And sometimes you're not going to take a job because you really like to. You have to take it. That's how you're going to feed your family. And I've certainly done projects that I'm not fully in love with. And there was one moment in this one movie I did where it was a very new green director, and she was very lovely, but she didn't know the basics. I remember we were on set, and I was like, "Can we block the scene?" Does anybody know what a blocking is? Yeah. Okay. So a blocking is where we like plan where we're going to stand. So when I say this line, I'm going to stand here, and the camera's going to, so the directors and the crew watch this, and then they decide how they're going to capture it from whichever directions. She didn't know what a blocking was. Yeah. My fame. My reputation. 20-something years of a career. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Do I need to pay my bills this bad? It ended up being fine, but those kinds of things, you're like, whoa, what is happening here? And I remember going through that, and I was on location, and a girlfriend of mine came over to my hotel, and we had dinner, and I was like explaining this to her. It was a very small movie I was working on, and she was working on a very large movie, and she's like, I just want you to know I'm working on a Marvel movie, and we're having this same problem. Yeah. So, I mean, and then again, there's like so many right things that happen. But as far as like how to push through it, I think with everything, it comes down to your practices, and whatever your spiritual practices, it doesn't have to necessarily be spiritual. For me, it is. I believe a lot in like meditation and prayer and journaling, and I think sometimes it's the intangibles. Those are the ones that get you. Like there's moments you're busy, and you can't see straight, and then there's moments where you're dead. There's nothing going on, and you don't know what's coming next. So how do you reconcile that? And for me, like I said at the very beginning, it's been a blessing for me. I have 4 kids. I just do a lot of laundry. Something's dirty all the time, and I cook a lot, and I drive a lot. So that keeps me busy enough to not contemplate anything else. For now, my kids are getting older. I don't know what I'm going to do when I don't have them to distract me. I'll start gardening or something. But, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi there. My name is Monica, and I just have a kind of a personal question. You talked a lot about your family and your kids. Your children are beautiful. I myself am mixed, so I'm kind of curious about how you met your husband and how your relationship has been.
Yeah, so my kids are biracial. They're half black. I met my husband the old-fashioned way at a nightclub. He was like, "You're cute." I was like, "You too." Wanna have some babies? Yeah, and that just was like, whoops, we should get married and have some children. So I'm divorced. I've been divorced for 7 years. Yeah, I don't. It's funny because especially during like the George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests and things a few years ago, like so much information was coming out, and it's very interesting because it's great that these conversations are being had. And I think to myself, like, we don't like discuss like our races in our family don't define us. They're just who we are, right? And so it's not something like we contemplate or talk about, but it's obviously an experience, and my experience is very different than my kids' experience. So and I always want to be sensitive to that. Thankfully, we have a really great relationship, and my kids are close with both sides of their family. So they're very aware of their Black family, and they're very aware of their white family, and who they are completely. So I'm grateful for that, and they're so cute. They got good hair and like everything. And my daughter actually right now, she's like very busy because she's very on trend. She's like 18 and biracial, and that's just very trendy right now. So I feel like I played that one well. I could not have planned that better. I was like, I watched Kris Jenner's masterclass. I was like, well, if it's gonna keep happening, I'll figure out how to maximize on this one. But not unless they don't want to do it, which my older son is going to college for business, and then my other daughter is a gymnast, so they're not all artists. I haven't got all of them yet, but I'll work on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. So you were a guest at the last Supernatural Seattle, which was canceled because of the snowstorm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so, as somebody who does not live here, even though Vancouver, very similar climate and everything, I'm sure. What was that like? Do you have any experiences or anything from that you'd like to share?
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that was so unfortunate because we just had one afternoon, right? And then the Saturday was like Snowgate or what was it? Snowmageddon. Yeah.
Snowbank, I think, when he's coming down from Bellingham.
What's that?
I think Misha's car, he slid into a snowbank.
Oh, did he? Oh my gosh, he drove down.
He was going to.
Oh, and then he got stuck.
Yeah.
I actually live up that way. Misha's responsible. I was like, what's it like up there? He's like, I love it. And so I moved up to, I live in Plain, which is even further north than Bellingham. Yeah. Yeah. It's such a cute little town. It's like a little oasis. And you know, wherever you are, the last question you asked, like that's another part of it. I live in like this most serene place. I just walk on the ocean and there's nobody around, which is nice. Yeah, that was fun. That was like camp. We were stuck, but we do like Pacific Northwest. We don't really have great road care, so and because we don't have enough snow to like. I grew up in Ontario and I lived in New York for a while. Okay. Are you the same Toronto? Is that the Ontario you're talking about? I lived in Ottawa too, and you lived for Ottawa. Waterloo. Your college town. We don't have road care like they do on the East Coast because we just don't need it here really. So like I live in the country and I have a very long driveway. So I just tell people I'll see you when the snow melts. So that's kind of what happened. We were just like, I guess we'll wait, and we were just kind of all stuck here, but we had a good time. Yeah, it was a good time, right? I remember Rob got one of those like city bikes and rode it on the ice, and I thought that was a stupid idea. It was definitely a stupid idea. And there was this one like long ramp, and I actually, no, God, it's all coming back to me. It's so good. I have this memory of like Jason and Fergus like sliding down the ramp. And I was like, oh, you're gonna break your teeth. Such a mom response. That happened to my son. He like called me one day and he broke his front tooth. No, he has the biggest chiclets. Anyway. So sad. I hate that. That's a fear, right? You watch your kids run, you're like, don't smash your face or break something. Anyway, that was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Hello.
Hi. This is kind of an arbitrary question, but I'm a born and raised Texan. And it's interesting to me that so many people have ended up down there. Why did you leave?
Why did I leave Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you from?
I grew up in Midland. You probably...
Yeah, no, I know Midland. I've driven through it.
Never did. But I went to college and lived in Austin before I moved up here.
Okay. You know, I've considered, so I lived in Dallas. My ex-husband's from Dallas. Well, he's from Cleveland, but he lived in Dallas since he was like 15, so he considers himself a Texan. You know, they say, we weren't born here, moved out here as fast as we could. And everything's bigger in Texas, and all my exes are in Texas. All true. Why did I leave? I just, at the time, there was a very distinct process with which you would be an actor, and that was you would move to New York or Los Angeles. Because the industry didn't exist outside of there, unless it was an independent, which Austin had a cool indie scene, and that was early 2000s, so like Robert Rodriguez had his studios there, and Ron, completely blanking. Wow. No, we'll come back to this. There was movies being made in Texas. And it is a little bit of feast or famine. I shadowed on Walker. They were gracious enough to let me come and learn from one of their producing directors, Steve. And the crew was all expressing the same. They're like, it's great when work comes to town, but it so rarely comes to town. So Walker was a huge blessing, of course, to the market there. So yeah, just a function of work. It just was not a place. Now, so to answer your question, why so many people are moving there, is you don't really have to live anywhere now. Like I said, we do these tapes and we sort of send them off, and then you go and do the job wherever the job is. And that was a big part of our contract negotiation, where it used to be, and I don't know how anybody else's jobs work, but usually if you're reassigned, like you get a moving package, right? Well, we didn't have that in our contracts for years. And so if you were doing a show, say in Vancouver for 15 years, you have to take up a residency in both places, and you never know when the next season is going to go. And now part of our negotiation is that they'll put you up, which is a blessing, because a lot of times you're in these very expensive cities and you don't know how long you're going to be there. Whole lot of other stuff, but yeah, I love Texas. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi.
I was wondering, how do you prepare for an emotional scene? Like sad or something like that?
Me personally, it sounds reductive, but I just feel it. And I don't know if it's just my years of experience. Like I remember being in the gym one day with my trainer, and I was doing a squat or something, and I was doing it wrong, and he was like, oh, your left toe needs to be planted into the ground. I was like, I have sneakers on, how do you know? And he was like, how do you know how to do your job? I'm just good at my job. I'm like, oh, good point. So I just think it's like years of experience. I can feel it when I read it. And I think that like the emotions and the registration of the character is just going to be a natural alignment, and those are the jobs that are for you. I read for, did you guys see The Whale? Yeah, such a great movie. I was on the short list for that, and I didn't get it for the nurse character. It took me like 6 hours to read that script, because it was so heavy, and I just kept like crying. I had to take emotional breaks from reading the script. Gosh, it was so good. And she got nominated for an Oscar. I knew it. I was like, this is good. I wanted it so bad. There's a very, very few, like I said, 70-something auditions a year. Like most of them, you're just like, okay, great. Here's my work, blah, 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 bye. And then there's a few that come along and you're like, oh my God, I want it so bad. That one I wanted so bad. Anyway, good for her. So good. Love that. Hi. Oh, that was you. Hi. Yeah. So that is my life in a nutshell. Is everybody here all weekend? Yeah. Okay. That's a good turnout for a Friday. A few years ago, we had like a Friday People thing. Do you guys remember that? Yeah? Friday People Loved It. Remember that one? Welcome newbies. It was wild. We were just talking about this in the green room. I was like, what are you guys doing tonight? And I'm just gonna go home and order food. It's like, remember when we used to go out all night? And wake up early and go for a run and then go to work? Like, we're all old now. Everybody's just like, I got a show I'm watching. I'm gonna order some room service. It's gonna be great. No more questions? How much time do I have? We're right on time. I will not be singing tonight, but if I were to sing, what song would you recommend for me? I've been recommended that song many times. The bitch is back. Yeah. I didn't know that song until I became Abaddon. And there was one back there. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. If anyone takes on a Whitney Houston song, God bless you. I will not be doing that. But did you guys see that movie? She did so good, right? So nostalgic. Okay, get up, we all gotta dance. I'm not gonna be up here alone, you guys. Okay. Yes, thank you for playing. And then there's a concert on Saturday? Yeah. Who's your favorite singer? Rob Jensen? Who else? Brianna. Yeah, I know, she came along like, hold up. Yeah, I'll sit down. I was like, okay, I'll be backstage with a rum and coke. Kim sings, right? Yeah. I was telling this in my meet and greet earlier, but I sang one time. It is not for me. I don't mind singing to myself. I feel like it takes a whole different, stage presence. I lost like 10 pounds the week before I sang. I was not feeling great. And then I remember like getting there and Ruth sat in the front row and just made me feel very safe, which was really nice. So anyways, I might come and watch though. Maybe announce somebody. Remember when we used to do the kazoo thing? Yeah, the kazoo song. What was the song? Medicated. Oh, right. Yeah, that's a good one. Hi guys, come on out. Come play a little diddle. Was there a script I regretted saying no to? I'm not really in a position to turn down work. The times that I've turned down work, it's usually because I didn't get the deal that I wanted. So there's 2 or 3 times where I have passed, we call it passed on, a job, but it's not a negotiation tactic in that it's a game. It's they're not willing to honor what I feel I need in order to do this job based on my experience of knowing what I need. And then usually what happens is you get the job with what you need. But the way that our contracts are going, it's actually less so now. So it's very rare that people are turning down work these days. So, yeah. Well, hi guys.
Hello.
So yeah, well thank you guys. Thanks for coming out. By the way, there was a little miscommunication this morning. I am signing for gold all weekend at my table in the vendor's room. So I know it was I was confused. And then we've sorted it all out. So if you have gold, please come by. And then there's also tickets available. I'm here all weekend. Thank you all for coming out.